Imagine a bustling railway station, the air thick with the smell of steam and the cacophony of 1,000 goodbyes. Now, picture a little 4-year-old girl, her hand held tightly by her mother. This was Priya 15 years ago. In a moment that would shatter her world, her mother, Malti, looked into her eyes, whispered a hurried farewell, and vanished into the crowd. Priya was left alone, a tiny figure lost in a sea of indifferent faces. This wasn't an act of cruelty, but one of desperate, heart-wrenching sacrifice. Malti was fleeing a life of unbearable hardship, a situation so dire that leaving her child was the only way she believed she could save her. She prayed someone kind would find Priya, someone who could offer her a future Malti couldn't. Her heart broke with every step she took away from her daughter, a silent scream trapped in her throat. As the trains whistled and the station slowly emptied, Priya's small sobs turned into cries of pure panic. The world she knew had dissolved. A kind-hearted railway constable, making his rounds, found her huddled by a pillar, her face streaked with tears. His heart went out to the abandoned child. He wrapped her in his jacket, offered her a biscuit, and began the search for her family. But there was no one. No note, no clue, just a little girl with a lost look in her eyes. The constable had no choice but to take her to the nearest shelter, a place called Shubhashish Balika Nibas, a home for girls. This orphanage would become Priya's new world. It was a stark, disciplined place, a far cry from the warmth of a mother's embrace. She shared a room with dozens of other girls, each with their own story of loss and survival. The early days were a blur of confusion and grief. Every night, Priya would cry herself to sleep, clutching a small worn-out ribbon Malti had tied in her hair. The last tangible piece of her mother she had. Priya grew up with a gaping hole in her heart, a question mark where a mother's love should have been. Why did she leave me? Did she not love me? These questions haunted her. While the other girls played, Priya would often sit alone, staring out the window, imagining her mother's face, trying to recall the sound of her voice. The matrons at the orphanage were kind but firm. They taught her to be strong, to rely on herself. The world is tough, they'd say, and you have to be tougher. School became her escape, her sanctuary. She buried herself in books, finding solace in stories of faraway lands and happy families. She excelled academically, her sharp mind a shield against the pain of her past. She dreamed of becoming a lawyer, a champion for those who, like her, had been left behind by life. Her determination was forged in the fire of abandonment. She was determined to build a life so successful that her mother, wherever she was, would regret leaving her. As the years passed, the sharp sting of abandonment slowly dulled into a persistent ache. On her 18th birthday, Priya aged out of the orphanage. With a small bag of belongings and her stellar school records, she stepped out into the world. A young woman full of ambition and unresolved anger. She won a scholarship to a prestigious law school in the city, her dream finally within reach. Life in the city was a whirlwind. She juggled classes, a part-time job at a cafe, and the constant pressure to succeed. Yet, amidst the hustle, the ghost of her mother lingered. Every time she saw a mother and daughter laughing together, a familiar pang of jealousy and sadness would hit her. She tried to date, to form close friendships, but a wall always went up. How could she trust anyone to stay when the one person who was supposed to love her unconditionally had left? One day, while working at the cafe, an old newspaper clipping used as a table liner caught her eye. It was a small article from a regional paper dated almost 15 years ago. The headline read, "Woman Flees Abusive Husband. Desperate Search for Missing Child." The article detailed the story of a woman named Malti who had escaped a violent home. It mentioned her desperate hope that her daughter, left at a railway station for her own safety, had found a better life. Priya's world stopped spinning Malti. The name echoed in the deepest recesses of her memory. Her hands trembled as she read the story, the faded print blurring through her tears. This wasn't a story of abandonment. It was a story of a desperate mother's love. The anger that had fueled her for so long began to crumble, replaced by a wave of empathy and a profound sense of loss for the mother she never really knew. With a newfound purpose, Priya began her search. She used her budding legal skills to dig through old records, track down witnesses, and follow a trail that had gone cold for 15 years. Her journey took her back to the very railway station where her life had changed forever. It led her to dusty government offices and small, forgotten villages. With every dead end, her resolve only strengthened. She needed to find Malti, not for an explanation, but for a connection. Finally, a lead took her to a small, quiet ashram on the outskirts of the city, a sanctuary for women seeking peace. There she found her Malti was older, her face etched with years of hardship and regret, but her eyes were the same ones Priya remembered from her fragmented childhood memories. When their eyes met, time stood still. There were no accusations, no angry words. There was only the silent, powerful recognition of a bond that had been stretched but never broken. Malti, through her tears, told Priya everything. She spoke of the fear, the desperation, and the agonizing choice she had to make. She had spent every day for the past 15 years praying for Priya's safety, living with the guilt of her decision. She had never stopped loving her, not for a single moment. In that moment, standing before the woman who had given her life and then set her free, Priya understood it. The anger, the resentment, it all melted away, replaced by an overwhelming sense of forgiveness. She wasn't forgiving her mother for leaving her. She was forgiving the circumstances that had forced them apart. She realized her mother's sacrifice wasn't a rejection, but the ultimate act of love. It had given her the chance to become the strong, independent woman she was today. The reunion wasn't a magical fix for years of pain, but it was a beginning. It was two broken pieces of a heart finally coming together. Priya didn't get the childhood she longed for, but she got something perhaps even more precious: understanding. She found peace not in rewriting the past, but in accepting it. Her journey, which began with the pain of abandonment at a train station, had come full circle, ending with the healing power of forgiveness in a quiet ashram. This story reminds us that forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about freeing ourselves from the weight of the past. It's about understanding that sometimes the greatest acts of love come in the most painful of packages. Thank you so much for watching and sharing this journey with us. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that explores the depths of the human spirit. Until next time, take care.